Hi, my friends. Welcome back to Healing Together, a YouTube channel dedicated to God stories, where God shows up in our lives and supplies the need that we have. I am so glad that you came back to hear episode 2 of the Chupp story. We are going to walk through some tragedy with Ken today as he shares about losing his wife. Please stick around and hear what he has to say and how God shows up in some very, very difficult times. I look forward to getting to hearing this story again. It is a very special story of how God works. I want to share with you that there is someone sitting there with him that God has been saving, had been saving all of her life. So this is not the end of the story. This is just another portion of it. So please stick around and we will have a third episode at least. But hear this one and pay attention to how God ministers to Ken through several different avenues. I just can't wait for you to hear it. So let's listen as Ken shares some very hard, dark days in his life. Hit that subscribe button if you would, and the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's listen. Here's Ken.
I remember it was a Wednesday morning, and I was meeting with the ministry leader at the church in Warsaw, and I get a call from Diane. And so I texted her and said, I'll call you in a few minutes. And didn't hear her text come back in. And she said, think I have a kidney stone. I'm heading to the ER. And so I don't know if it was 10, 15 minutes later, I saw that and I was like, oh my word. So I called her and he said, I'm an hour away. And her parents are on their way to pick her up and take her to the ER. And so I had an event that night that I had to pass off to somebody else, and I took off. And by the time I got to the emergency room, she had been in the ER waiting room and was just going back as I walked in. And they did a scan, and they came in and they said, we'd like to do another one with dye. And so they did one, and the doctor came back in and said, you don't have a kidney stone. And Diane goes, are you sure? And he said, yes, we found a mass on the top of your left kidney. And that's the one thing I knew people that heard that before. I never thought that would happen. And so he said, we're going to take you back for a lung x-ray. And now I understand why they did that. They wanted to see if they were pretty sure it was cancer at that point. They wanted to see if it metastasized to her lungs. And so they took her for an x-ray, and I had to go out and call my kids and tell my kids that there's a tumor in your mom. And that was the hardest thing to do. And I walked out of the ER, and there was no place to hide. And then I found there's this big pillar, and I could kind of hide behind that, and I just wept. And then I just kind of pulled myself together, and one by one called my children and said they found a tumor on Mom's kidney. And later that night, They went up into the kidney and took a look at it. And the next day they did a biopsy, but later that night they said, yeah, it's cancer. And so it took several months. No, it took 6 weeks for them to finally do the kidney, to remove her kidney, because they couldn't figure out what kind of cancer it was. And so they had sent the biopsy all over the place, and nobody could figure out what it was. And so the surgeon said, if it's one kind of cancer, we do this kind of surgery. If it's another kind, we do it a little bit different. He said, I'm just going to do all of it. And in case it's either one. And so that's what they did. And then they said, yes, it's obviously this kind of cancer. And so we went to an oncologist in Indianapolis, and we found out the end of July that she had cancer. It was the end of November before we found out actually what kind of cancer it was. And it was about 4% of all kidney cancers, or all cancers, 4% of all cancers is kidney cancer, and less than 1% of kidney cancers was the kind of cancer that she had. It's very rare and it's very aggressive. And so we did chemo, we did everything, nutrition, we tried all kinds of things. And we actually, I don't know if you've heard of this, we actually prayed a lot, and it didn't go well. She was a part of a study for a while. They tried a new drug, and the drug, her body reacted to that. And so there came a point shortly after Christmas 2016 that we just knew that she's not going to make it. And one day we were sitting in the living room, and she was sitting on the couch and I was sitting across the room, and she just patted the couch next to her, and he said, why don't you come over here and have a seat and let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm not going to make it, so let's plan my funeral. And I remember it was probably 2 to 3 weeks before she died. I'd ask her, are you afraid of dying? Now, you've been married long enough, you know when your wife is lying to you, right? And Diane did immediately. Diane said, oh, I'm not afraid of dying. It's just a doorway I have to go through. I'm not afraid. I said, well, I'm afraid for you. And I was. And she faced it with peace, with confidence. And it was hard. But God was faithful in that process. Up to it, the church family, how they came around me and supported me, it was incredible. Things changed in our marriage because of the cancer. And what I mean is this: I changed. Diane was going through cancer, and so my focus shifted. Like, do you need some water? Can I get you some water? Here, let me get you some more tissues. Let me get this for you. And it was the focus of my life was serving my wife. Now, I know that's biblical, right? And I know I should have always been doing it to that degree. But here's the thing that surprised me. You know, and Diane would apologize. We went to Indianapolis for chemo, and that's quite a drive, and it pretty much takes a day. Sometimes we had to go down the night before. Sometimes we had to leave really early in the morning, and we get home really late at night. But I didn't mind. It wasn't a bother, and she would apologize. Oh, Ken, I'm so sorry. You have to, you know, take up your whole day. Diane, I'm happy to. But here's what I noticed. The more I served her, the more I loved her. And probably a week or two before she died, I said to her, I wonder what our marriage would have been like if I had learned to serve you like this a long time ago. And that changed me.
Not too much. Lord, please heal me, but not so much that I forget how she loved. Leave enough pain so I can calculate how deep our love was. Oh Lord, please heal me, but not too much. Lord, please heal me, but not so much that I forget how she laughed. Let grief leave a trail of breadcrumbs to the special places we would go. Oh Lord, please heal me, but not too much. Oh Lord, please heal me, but not so much that I forget her touch. Post a guard in my mind where those memories are stored. Oh Lord, please heal me, but not too much. Lord, please heal me, but not so much that I forget the sound of her voice. May her words still echo on in the channels of my ears. Oh Lord, please heal me, but not too much. Lord, please heal me, but not so much that I forget her kiss. May the memory of her taste always be on my lips. Oh Lord, please heal me, but not too much.
And then in that moment, everything changed. A couple of days later, reeling in grief, I had this thought, wait, I knew this was going to happen. We knew she was going to die. But I didn't know it was going to be like this. I don't know if that makes any sense. And it's like people say, well, you know, you knew, you brace. It doesn't matter. If I tell you next Thursday I'm going to drop a ton of bricks on you, it doesn't change how much that ton of bricks hurts because you knew about it in advance. And I was, stunned by that, how difficult the grief was afterwards.
You can't step out of it.
No. Those were dark, lonely, frustrating days. And they went by very slowly. Very slowly. But God was in each one of them. God was in each day, in each moment of each day. But it was painful. So, Diane died February 7th, 2017. And so we had been trying to, for several years, move to Warsaw. We lived an hour away. And so that year, the rest of 2017, I finished fixing up the house, getting it ready to sell. And December 30th, sold the house and moved to Warsaw. So I was in a different house, all by myself, in a house with no memories, in a new community, and I celebrated that by having 3 surgeries in 3 months. I needed my knees replaced, and so smack dab in the middle of my 2 knee surgeries, I had a herniated disc in my neck. And so, because I just had my 2nd knee surgery, I couldn't have surgery on my neck for 6 weeks. And so for about 2 months, I was in pretty much constant pain in my back, middle of my back, down my arm. And so I had all kinds of pain. And it was terrible. And one night, it was a couple weeks after my 2nd knee surgery, I woke up in the middle of the night in pain. And so I took my pain medication. That takes 45 minutes to an hour to kick in. So I went out in my chair, and I've on Pandora I have a Chris Tomlin channel that I just listen to worship songs, and I turn that on, and I'm singing, and I'm weeping because of the truth of the songs and the pain that I'm having and all of that. And then I can't explain it in a way that you can understand, but God, in the most amazing way, in the most intimate way I've ever experienced, showed up in that moment, right there. And I wept more because of the beauty of that moment. There was a moment 5 months after Diane died. I was at a conference, and pastors and ministry leaders from around our denomination got together, and I was not looking forward to going, because I'm going to get, 47 times a day, "How are you?" I don't know how I am. How do you answer that question? And I don't want to go into all the gory details of my grief. And so there was a friend of mine. I really haven't talked face to face to him for probably 15 years. But I love his sense of humor on Facebook. And so I saw him, and we were talking. He said, "How you doing?" I said, "I think I'm doing all right." He goes, No. How are you doing? "Oh, so you want to know the real answer?" Okay, and so I went into some more detail. And then he asked me a question. He said, "When Jesus wept, why did he weep?" I don't know. Felt like I was in Sunday school. I better get the answer right. Why did he weep? Because, he was sad. No, he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. Why did he weep? Well, I don't know. And he said the reason Jesus wept is because he saw those he loved in pain, and he entered into their pain. And as soon as he said that, the most amazing thing happened. Jesus was right there. Now, I didn't see him physically, but he was right there, and he walked right into my pain. And I mean, there are people, this is a convention center. Yeah. There are people all around, and I began to weep. And Mick was like, whoa, no, whoa. And I just wept. It was another one of those beautiful times. God showed up most intensely in the depth of my pain. Memorial Day weekend of 2017, we all went out to my sons in Idaho, and from there went to Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons, and it was a good time for all of us. You know, as far apart as we live, it's hard for all of us to be together. And that was just a wonderful time to be together. It hurts. Grief hurts. And the closest thing I have to Diane is our children. My son has my sense of humor, but my wife's personality, which is a really odd combination. You know what I mean? We're walking, and we like to hike together and stuff like that, and we'll see something, and we'll both have the same thought about that. But his personality is just like my wife's, and so, yeah, those are great times whenever we can be together as a family. And that's what's healing. And it was hard for all of us, but every time we get together, our goal is to talk about Nana. And that's what the grandkids called her. I'm Papa, Diane was Nana. And so we talk about Nana. And Nana, she thought of everything. She bought a book called When Nana Goes to Heaven. So on the day that she died, I gave that book to my daughter, and she read it to her children. She just thought of everything. There was a time when, after my second knee surgery, when I talked to the doctor about my herniated disc, and the doctor said, I can get you in a couple weeks, and we can do that surgery. And he said, but let me check with your knee doctor first. And so it was in the same office, and so he went and he talked to my knee doctor, and he said, he said, because you just had surgery, there's a chance, if we do surgery right away, there's a chance of blood clots. So we have to wait 6 weeks to do surgery. I said, 6 weeks? Yeah. And so I was on narcotics, so I wasn't driving. So I had a man from church that had driven me to that appointment. And I went out in the car and said, Bill, I can't have surgery for 6 weeks. I have to live with this pain for 6 weeks. Bill, how am I going to do that? I can't do that. I can't put up with this pain for 6 weeks. And I began to weep. And there's a man from my church. He's freaking out. What? There's my pastor weeping. What am I supposed to do? And he said, listen, while I'm here in town, there's a store I need to go to. Would it be okay if I go there? I said, you know what? That would be great, because my daughter just lives a couple miles away from there. Why don't you drop me off at her house, and you go do whatever shopping you need to do, and then come pick me up. And I spent an hour and a half with my granddaughters and my daughter, playing, telling stories, and I was fine. Family heals. Family heals.
sounds like a special lady.
She was.
Well, that's where we're going to wrap it up for the day. Please make sure you're back here on Friday to hear the next episode. In this story that Ken is sharing, we're going to introduce you to a very special lady that has been just exactly what God desired for their lives. I'm so excited to share this. Please come back on Friday. We'll see you then. Hit that subscribe button if you have not. Hit the like button if you have not. And help us to move the algorithm and to share this in even more places as we share God stories of how God shows up in our lives at just the right time. Thank you so much for stopping by. God bless.